Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Power of Words literary part. I'm sorry, I'm going to start all over again. It is Sunday. Welcome to Sunday, and welcome to the Arts Exchange, the Power of Words author panel. I am Theresa Davis. I am the literary director for the Arts Exchange. And in celebration of Women's History Month, I have two of my favorite poets in the room for you today. But first, I must do the business of the day. I have to thank the people who make it possible for all this wonderful programming to happen to your faces. So, the Arts Exchange is funded by a grant from the Community Foundation for Greater Atlanta through the Metropolitan Arts Atlanta Arts Fund and from Fulton County Arts and Culture under the direction of the Fulton County Board of Commissioners and all of our lovely, lovely supporters. So I'm going to introduce two of my friends, Miss Angelique Palmer and Miss Jennifer Nuesi. I learned how to say it correctly because I'm a poet and that's what we do. Welcoming to the stream. Hello, you beautiful, beautiful, beautiful human beings. How are you today?
So good to see you.
So good to see you all. I'm so grateful to have you here. It is Women's History Month, and I try to uplift as many voices as I can on. That's pretty much my job, creating spaces for people to have voices, so those voices can be lifted up. It's actually I found that it's my love language that I developed during the pandemic when I lost 2 years. I think we all did that. Hello, Jennifer and Angelique. I am going to put your bios in the chat and read them. It's going to be great. So we have Jennifer. Jennifer's writing is of echoes, words that float about a cave filled with what? Don't do it.
No, do it. Go ahead. I just hate hearing about myself. It's like so weird. It's like, oh
yeah, I do the same thing. And then I'll do this thing. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the bios, or I'll just put them in the chat. But I do this thing when people ask me for a bio. I'll say stuff like, "Oh, just make something up." But then I did that one time, and the person who made it up happened to know that entire speech from A Knight's Tale when they're introducing Sir Ulrich for that last bout. And I was like, what is happening to my life right now? And then maybe that should be my bio forever. I don't know.
Right? Keep it.
It was amazing. What we can't. Here's what I'll do. I'll put the bio you sent me in the chat. But how about you just introduce yourselves, and that way maybe it's a little less weird. So, Jennifer, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from and what's happening.
Oh my God, sweat. Okay. My name is Jennifer. I'm originally from New York, but now I reside in a very teeny tiny town called Northport, Florida, where it's always sunny, always hot, and unfortunately, there's always spiders coming after me. I swear to God, they really do. I don't know what's going on. I've been writing for a really, really long time. This particular project, I know we're going to talk about it, but my new book, Things, it's been in the works for about, I want to say 15 years. And thank you. And I finally took the deep plunge. I decided to give it 110% my pure focus. And it's out, and I'm so excited. I'm so happy. The kind of feedback that I'm getting from everybody, it's like very interesting, a lot of different moving parts. So I'm really excited, and I'm just excited where it goes next. So yeah.
Dang it. There I am. It's like Zoom. It's like a nightmare. I think we all have those nightmares where we wake up and like, you're muted. Oh my God. Angelique, tell us about yourself.
Unmute. Got it. Hi, I'm Angelique Palmer. I'm a poet and a writer, and I came up through the Florida State University writing program. So we have Florida in common, Jennifer. And yeah, I went to high school there, and then I moved the hell out of there as soon as I could. I was born and raised, I'm sorry. I was born and raised in New Orleans though. And that is in my DNA, that is in my blood. I now live in Northern Virginia in a town called Maryfield. That's not important. What is important is Maryfield holds me down. That's number one. And number two, it's about 40 minutes away from Washington, D.C. And so anytime I've gone to a poetry competition where I have represented a city, it's usually Washington, D.C. Um, I am a person who performs and competes with her poems. So yeah, I resist hard the idea of being called a slam poet, but I'm a poet who slams, and that's a different thing. And I'm a kindergarten teacher. When I um, when I started the pandemic, I was a assistant teacher in the kindergarten class. Then the following year, I was a first grade assistant teacher. And then I went back to kindergarten because A, they gave me my own class, and B, I love it. I love kindergarten so much. I also love to curse. So what I need to know is, am I allowed to curse?
Oh, well, you mean
Here.
here?
Yeah.
Have you met your damn host before?
Oh, okay. I was just wondering if I could bring out the 5-star 4-letter word. That's
Hey,
okay.
do it. I don't censor anybody. And I already gave, hey, I don't, the ArtsXchange actually doesn't censor. We don't believe in that. We believe in uplifting voices and education. So like, yeah, curse away, ma'am. It's
Oh, I
fine.
appreciate you.
But look, I want to get back to what you said about that differentiation between a slam poet and a poet. I love Slam the vehicle. It has done a lot for me, and I have met some very genuine and true people while participating in that. But it was I had to fight for people not to just kind of put me in that box, which I think is why I do so many other things to like make sure they understand. Like, this is a storytelling event, and this is this event, and this is so that I'm not in that box of this is all the label you can wear. I got a lot of labels. I got a big forehead. I can hold a lot of labels. You know what I'm saying? Sorry. I said I was gonna get my water bottle. I made an espresso. So this is gonna be great. This is gonna be great. I have questions. So I want to know, like, I think all of us learned something maybe we didn't really we know about ourselves intensely during the pandemic. What did you find out about yourself? What thing did you learn about yourself in the pandemic? Jennifer, let's start with you. What did you learn? What is something you learned about yourself during the pandemic? And two-parter for you, because you've been like working on this piece for so long. Did the pandemic give you space to actually focus on that a little bit more than you would normally have had time for?
Well, first part, I'm going to answer what I learned about the pandemic. Right before the pandemic happened, I actually went through this major heartbreak. And I was devastated, but it was something that I really needed, because I feel like throughout my life, and I think in the pieces, people can really tell how I've kind of put myself together again with certain situations, but I haven't put myself together again correctly. So it was like kind of like a half-ass healing in a way. And finally, when I went through that breakup, and then right then and there, the pandemic happened, it gave me time where I could focus on me and I can really build myself up and heal myself, for when the next relationship comes or the next person that I really want to grow and be with, it's going to be healthy. So with the pandemic, that I'm really thankful for. And going back to the second part of the question about how I kind of worked through, actually, I was still kind of working on the book. But during the time of the pandemic, I was working also a full-time job, and that job was very demanding. And during the pandemic, a lot of people got to work from home. I was one of those few people that I was not able to work from home. Plus, there was no school. So, Angelique, you're a kindergarten teacher. I give you 110% because I cannot do it. Like, you deserve an athlete salary. I swear to God, because I could not do a full-time job, plus being a full-time teacher and teaching my kid like Common Core math and like going through all this. Like, I was struggling. So putting all that together, and then, we got through the pandemic, and I felt like my job really wasn't appreciating me, really wasn't really valuing who I was. So here I have this amazing body of work that I know is going to be successful, and I know I can do so much with it, and a job that doesn't appreciate me. So going through my healing, going through what I bring to the table and who I am as a person. And I think the pandemic for that, I just decided to say, you know what, fuck it. And I quit my job. I saved up, and this is where I'm at right now. Like, this is my baby. This is my job. So I'm so excited, and I'm really thankful for it. I looked at the pandemic with a cup half full versus half empty. And honestly, I love being alone. So I love being social. I love people, but I need me time. Like, I like quiet, right? And then, having a little one, like, she's in the back, as you can see. It's like having another person. She's like 3 people. I'm like 7. So we were very full in this house. We were fine. So yeah.
No, I feel that. I feel that. I think that, because I too, I think that me working with young people is what allows me to deal with adults. And so, of course, when it first happened, I am a teaching artist. My job is basically going into all the schools and teaching the poetry and then leaving. But then all the schools closed. So all of a sudden, all of my income just disappeared. It was a Thanos slap. It was like, it wasn't a snap, it was a slap. Because it was like literally, it was like I woke up and I was over $20,000 less in income, just like that. And I am totally self-employed, So yeah. So, but yeah, it was a lot for me. Angelique, what about you? What did you learn about yourself? And did that time give you more time to work on this beautiful piece of art right here?
Hi, my little baby. It gives me great pleasure, and it's such an honor to see it in your hands. Also, Dark is on Etruscan Press, which is out of Wilkes University in Pennsylvania. But the person that approached me was, oh God, I'm not going to do that. I will just say, I just want to say that this book was kind of a conversation, and the poems are in conversation with each other. And basically, they started to be, some of them are really old poems that have been workshopped and stuff like that. But I wanted to make sure that they could answer another poem that was in the book. And they're like the bird tweets in the morning, um, or a basic obad, in which it's a love letter to the dawn from midnight, or a love letter to from dawn to midnight. It was, or vice versa, I think. I'm gonna get this right. I might be a little nervous in your presence, Theresa. It always happens. And yeah, basically these poems are talking about how did I make it over? How did I make it through? How did I make it to the next step? And I think I did a good job with that. The opportunity came up during the pandemic, as a result of the pandemic, as a result of what was happening during the pandemic too. Had um, God rest his soul, George Floyd not passed away, had we not started having some real conversations about, um, there's a lot of lip service, but not a lot of actual action about putting Black voices into your presses and Black voices into your forefront. How about you actually do that? Um, my name was said in a room, and they came and got me. And that's how I think I operate too. Is I hear something, there's an opportunity that needs to be had. Let me say your name in a room. And as often as I can, I want to get in those rooms and say those names. What I learned about myself during the pandemic is, can I heal? So I'm so glad that Jennifer brought that up. And I did some half-ass healing too. I got some full-ass healing to still do. Um, but in the process, I'm like, can I heal and get through this like my grandmothers did? I have a grandmother who went through the Depression. I have a grandmother who went through 80s era Reagan economics, and they did everything that they needed to do to make ends meet. Um, there's not a lot of people who know about that block of cheese and the can of meat that the government so graciously bestowed upon us of a certain economic background, and yet I knew about it. I knew how to make a wish meat sandwich a whole meal, and I knew how to pull myself up. Um, but I also didn't know that I would have community that would show up. So I taught myself how to make yogurt. That's one of the things I taught myself during the pandemic. Um, I made sure that I got the poems that were sitting in dormant after being workshopped and workshopped again, and made sure that they met the poems that I was writing to myself and to the dawn and to the midnights I was having, and I let people help me. Um, what happened is I had a lump in my jaw. And I was ignoring this lump in my jaw, figured it was a cavity, an abscess, what have you. It was a lump, a real lump that had to be seen by a doctor, that had to be carved out of my jawline during a surgery. And um, so that's some half-ass healing I did because I had that surgery and was able to pay for it with my community's help. But also, I was back teaching about a week later. Um, and my school, as brave as they are, said, we're not doing the online thing after the 2020 year ends. As soon as summer camp opened, we were live. We were back in person. We were in masks 24/7. We ate lunch like 7 miles apart because we still didn't know what the hell. Um, and little by slowly, things happen. When I started first grade, I started first grade in a classroom full of children with our desks spaced wide apart and our window open even when it was 20 degrees and an air filter going 1,000 times a day. So you had to teach over that. I learned I could do it. And I think that um, I give high honor to my ancestors. I think that my grandma would say, yeah, you got this. And that's who I aspire to. I don't ask for anybody else's opinion, except my own and my grandma's, and every so often, my mommy's.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that has been difficult for a lot of artists in the community as far as the pandemic goes, like that ability to ask for help. Because I see certain members of our communities constantly helping people without being asked. They just doing stuff. But and all that doing stuff, when they actually need help, they don't know how to ask for it. That's something that I've had to do during the pandemic of realizing it's like that. I mean, I've been dealing with depression pretty much my whole life, in and out. You have those good years, those good decades, and then you have that, right? Um, and just being able to be honest, and you know, when my kids or when friends, pick up on me not being okay, instead of me, lying my ass off and being like, oh, I'm fine, being able to say, no, actually, I might not be okay, and them being like, I can come over in a mask and we can sit on the porch and talk about it, and not knowing that is actually something that is available. I mean, knowing it, but not knowing or giving yourself permission to ask for it, you know. And yeah, so I think that is something that uh, a lot of people learned during this time. One of the special things that I learned about me and my superpower is I learned that I can digest the news, because that shit is hard sometimes, right? I can watch the news and digest it and not like flip over tables, or set a fire to everything if after I can watch Gordon Ramsay yell at children or adults? It doesn't matter. Just him yelling at people. And then then I'm like, okay, everything's okay, because that man's going to yell at you and tell you you're trash, and then at the end he's going to say, you go out there and you rock the world, and you're going to believe him because of that accent. Anyway, that's all over the place. When Jennifer, I have a question. So you talked about quitting your job and taking on this new thing with the with your writing and your book. Do you have another book in the work, and are you offering classes or anything like that where we can support, or the community can support?
I have been bouncing some ideas around, but it's so funny. I cannot edit my own work. I cannot look at my own work more than once. Like last week or the week before last, I was telling some people I was going through it because I was recording my audiobook. And this is all just me publishing the book, me doing the book design. Everything has been me. And it's just been me figuring it out. Google has been my BFF, my poor little one. She's been my support system. She's like, it's okay, Mom. And I'm like, it's not okay. So going through the audiobook, I like I said, I cannot go through my own work because I tend to, and that's where my anxiety comes in. And that's where I feel like my book is very unique, because the book really entails everything, whether it's visual, whether it's poetry, certain words, different words just thrown in there, really showcases how anxiety is. Where you finished a piece of work or you've done something, and then anxiety is like, you should finish that. Maybe you should look at it again. I don't think that's right. That sucks. It looks like ass. And like, you're going back over and over. So anyway, going back with the audiobook, I was going through it and I'm like, recording, and I'm just going through each poem. And I'm like, this is horrible. Like, I should just burn this book to the ground and never showcase it to anyone ever again. Light your pens on fire. Don't even write anymore. But again, going back to my healing, I have to go back and think logically and really put logic to a lot of my anxious thoughts and just saying, okay, Jen, logically, why do you feel this way? So, will I write another book? Yes. But I think I need my first child to like be on its own legs and like be able to stand on its own for me to say, okay, I feel comfortable and I feel like in a good place and I want to write my second book. But there is a lot. I have so many ideas. I have so many things I want to do, and I have so much to share. I don't offer classes. I do have a website where you can check out my work. Also, I can also link it as well. A link to my book where you can see like a book trailer that I have, a little bit more information, some reviews and things like that. And then I really got into the NFT game with, I do a lot of visual poetry as well. So I set up on Rareable some one-of-one pieces that you can purchase that are NFTs. So that's kind of what I've been doing with that, but no classes, no anything. Maybe in the future. I never want to say no. Never say never, because you never know.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I have the I have the patience like with my child, but I don't know if I have like that like teaching. Again, Angelique, oh my God, like I bow to teachers, man. Y'all, they deserve all the gifts, all the blessings in the world. Because honestly, you guys are really you're helping us raise our kids. And I'm just raising one kid. When you go in that classroom and you sit in, you're raising all these different people's kids.
And they all come from different places, and they all come from different skill sets, and they all have different, holes in whatever foundation they have, and they all have to be built in different special ways, right? Yeah, I think that's one of the things that attracted me also to teaching is that that meeting people where they are and just being fascinated by them, and letting them grow in their space of where they are. And I think I see Angelique's post about teaching, and so it's obvious that you care about it. And me as a teaching artist, I go in to classrooms, and it's really more teachers need to hear that praise, because I mean, I'm hearing so many teachers holding me back after class, and they're like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. And it's not even the kids, it's the parents, it's the administration. And I love my job. And so it's like all these people that I know have this deep passion, are just being like beat the hell down by, that lack of understanding of what exactly the kind of alchemist teachers are. You know what I mean? So I would like to hear some of your work, and I'm sure our listeners would love to hear some too. So if you want to, and you don't have to do the whole full 15, if you want to do 10 to 12 minutes, and then we'll come back and have discussions about what you're, what, if the audience, that's y'all on Facebook and YouTube, if you have questions, put it in the chat. And we will answer them at the end, because that's what interviews are for, answering questions. I don't know if you're new to this game, but I'm telling you what's up. So we're going to hear from Jennifer first, and then we're going to hear from Angelique Palmer. So get ready to hear some poetry, y'all.
Thank you so much. So I picked a couple of really impactful pieces that I think really kind of highlight what the book is mostly about. I wish you guys can see the visual. And again, you can check out my website. I know Theresa can put some links on there. Everything, again, from the beginning, middle, and end, whether it's the words that you see put into the book, whether it's graphics, spacing, everything has a purpose. And the overall purpose is to show how anxiety really seeps into your rationale, like how it really gets into there. So not only are you dealing with themes of heartbreak, depression, dealing with loss, loneliness, you also have to deal with anxiety that's just repeating different scenarios, playing back things over and over to you that you really can't fix. There's nothing you can do. The past is the past. You can move forward. And sometimes, you as an anxious person will take 2 steps forward, and then, anxiety makes you take 10 steps back. So I've been dealing with generalized anxiety disorder and dysthymic disorder, which is like a mild depression where you kind of go through ups and downs throughout the day. It'll literally flip it sometimes even in a minute. So just going through that all my life, I've just kind of found coping mechanisms and things that can have helped me come along. So I'm really appreciative for those things. And I hope with the book, you can see those coping mechanisms, and you can see kind of what's helped me, and hopefully with the book, conversations can also spark up of people that are going through anxiety, or people that are going through certain things, or maybe someone's feeling really lonely, really down and out. So I hope my book sparks a conversation at least. And if it affects one person, I'm happy. So with that being said, I have a couple of pieces. So hopefully we all enjoy. Okay. It's my first one. Your legacy seeps within my skin, devours my insides and makes them heard. Your loud traits, your unseemly desires, to break, to throw, to burn, everything, everyone to the ground. There is never a fault with you, victim in a state comatose. Dewy eyes and choked up sobs of imaginary mishaps that led you here. When in truth, this is what you are. That is what you left me to deal with the anger boiling like volcanic roars in my stomach. Left me with the damage of seeing imperfections in the perfect divine of I. Left me with guilt for breathing, for seeing, for being. You left me with a pain so deep that an ocean couldn't fill. Left me with an empty so cold the sun would melt. Left me without an escape of the cage, locked up in tensions that never were my blame. This is what you left me now to give, to pass down for another to bear. Inheritance. So that's my first one. And my second one, very interesting. The bruise appears. A reminder of roughness I confused for foreplay, indifference confused with passion, avoidance confused with shyness. How to clear the lens to see clearly. how to see clearly what the lens beholds, how to clearly state the signs of disinterest, how to see clear signs of drifting mind, wandering in space and time, wandering for the other person, wandering in my caves, seeking solace of what cannot be found. I lay there forgotten in spirit, but held in breath. I forget how my spirit is held. Deep breaths lay foundations to the emptiness inside. Swallow deep and gulp slowly the rhythm of flesh. I look outside into the spectacle before me as her name murmurs on your lips and you touch my lips. I'll play the game. I'll sit like a fool. What's one more time getting played by you? And I have one last piece. This is actually my favorite one. And just a quick little backstory. I'm Afro-Latina, so my family, most of my family is Dominican. And we have like a saying whenever like your parents get upset or somebody gets mad, they're like, I don't know how to say it in English like that well, but in Spanish is, yo no como, I'm sorry. So like I kind of took that little phrase and kind of expanded on it on an experience that I had, and just kind of being able to confront that person. Obviously, I haven't been able to, but in with pen and paper, I can. So that's kind of where this piece comes from. So when saying sorry isn't enough, when apologies don't cover the bills, when hunger strikes the belly, your sorry won't feed me. When the memories flood back of the pain and mistrust, your sorry won't erase from my mind. Keep the sorry, show me the regret. Keep the sorry, show me the fear. Keep the sorry, show me the understanding. Tie together the comprehension of the life you tattered, how you closed my eyes and placed rocks on the lids while the mental pictures play over and over. How my body, tiny and frightened, tight under overgrown hands, feasting on a meal of innocence. How the sweet taste of fresh honey and snow white milk lulled you into a trance of rhythm and movement that wasn't made aware to young eyes. How you went about your day and never had a thought about the pain you caused as you kept coming back to the hive of my nectars over and over and over. So tell me, where was the sorry in your dance of repetition? So now that the empty phrase, I'm sorry, decided to bubble from your mouth after your body won't function, after the sins have caught up, after the fun was less. So now is when I finally get that apology that the old me wanted, that the young me needed to feel, to be free of a weighted guilt of another, to bury the anxiety that creeps to my today, day after day of the possibility of the next illicit interaction. So now is when you've come to say, I'm sorry for stealing my piece of peace now and forever, and I can't give it back. But to you, the sorry is enough. You think but a little bit, you think to think that your sorry has that much power to change the marble of a body that you've chiseled away. But then I came to sand the scars away and create a masterpiece, an artist. I am Michelangelo of aggression, a Picasso of pain. So when you come to feed me a sorry, regardless of the intention, remember, I don't eat, I'm sorry, no more. And that's it. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much. I'll share links where you can purchase and find the book. But thank you for the time. Thank you for giving me a listen. Even if you like share it with your friends, like anything, I'm just so grateful. I'm just happy I'm even here. So
no, thank you, and definitely put your information will be put in the chat, and you can also put it in the chat as well. I love the last line on that last poem. I don't know, but we talked about slam earlier, but many a slam poem I have written, I came up with the last line first. It was like, this is how I'm gonna drop the mic, but then I have to worry like, and now where's the rest of the poem? But that was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. You have some questions in the chat. We're gonna do those at the end of Angelique sharing, so we can get all the questions in. Can you not hear me? Am I being heard? Oh, awesome. Okay. Yeah. So now we're going to hear from Miss Angelique Palmer, who saved my life one day. And I'm going to tell y'all about that one day. I remember that you were the, like, that moment taught me how deep and genuine you were. I mean, we were literally competing against each other. You know, you could have easily been like, "Oh, Theresa over there dying. I don't have to worry about her in this bout." You know, I mean, it could have been so easy. But the fact that you just helped me through that part, you know, as I was like, this is a genuine person, and I need her in my life forever. I want y'all to listen and put your hands together, even though we can't hear you. For Angelique Palmer, my friend.
You're my real life friend. I love it. Jennifer, I wrote down Paso of Pain. Watch you go through that in a poem I write one day soon. I want to start with a kind of it was really good. Thank you for sharing the work. I'm all over the place, but I do want to start with kind of a dark poem. I know that when people ask me some places, they often get scared that I'm just gonna bum everybody out. I get scared of the same things too. I have some a deep vein of imposter syndrome as always because I am the misery chick. And so I'd like to do a couple of happier poems today, but I'm gonna start with this one because I think it has a conversation with the last poem you wrote. It's called Duck. Yeah, that's a cute title for something. I broke my ankle in 2017 at a dodgeball game in a school gym where I was the phys ed teacher's substitute. I caught one dodgeball in the jaw, the other one slithered under my right foot. Top of me went one way, bottom of me went another. Must have been high comedy. Hell, I would have laughed if I saw it until I went to stand up. I couldn't put any pressure on it. I scooted on my tush back to where one might have said I should have been the whole time. And when I took off my shoe, it blew up to twice the size. From there, it's a long story. Mike Tyson once said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. You ever try to stand up after life catches you in the jaw but good? See your ego in a puddle of collect your stuff and get where you're supposed to be, girl? The snake is whispering that the apple is soft, but that velocity, though. And don't you know everything you need to know now? Enough to tell when it's going to rain before any report. Enough to feel pressure even when it's just implied. Enough to never trust where you plant your feet. Enough to laugh at anyone who think life fights fair. Enough to never know if it's the threat of, the memory of, or the actual pain blinding you into already kind of awake. Enough to always have a plan. I broke my ankle in 2017. So maybe this isn't about the one that used to beat the shit out of me. One changed the way I walked through the world. The other's a long story. But if you ever see a dodgeball or a fist coming at you, trust me, duck. Um, This is a special request by a friend of mine who's a real life friend of mine. So I'm going to read this poem, which I never actually read at open mics anymore. But there's an organization in Washington, D.C. called Split This Rock, and they chose it to be their poem of the week. I was so honored, and then it won like something like an award or something. And so it was honored at the end of the year again. And so this is my little poem with legs. It's called God, or a lottery ticket in a black woman's purse. Trying to find faith in a world that is slowly killing me and blaming me for why it can't do it right, or why survival might be the only thing in the way of joying, of actually enjoying life. Or the privileges I own are many, but the luxury of using them correctly belong to someone else, or suffer the little children. That's it. Or explaining to your body that cigarettes and alcohol use may have primed you for toxicity, but it's this paycheck to paycheck, hand to mouth, constant inconsistency that's really stretched your survival practices into a sustenance of stressed the fuck out, or dodging the landlord, ducking my debtors, and flirting with the bill collectors has created in me a matching set of fissures and fault lines that sing boo irreparably break. Or how do you pray when you keep failing every religion that's failed you? Or winning the lottery might actually solve these problems. So buying my lottery ticket is a sort of worship. Look at how every few days I ask something invisible to do something impossible, how that is a living joy. Or faith is the only thing keeping me alive when the world isn't. I'm checking to make sure I'm doing right by y'all. Um, for something called supernova. So this is called this form of poem is called a golden shovel, and it was made famous by Terrence Hayes, but is after Gwendolyn Brooks' We Real Cool, Seven in the Golden Shovel. So Terrence Hayes wrote a poem where every end of the line is the words from Real Cool, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And then I got to meet Terrence Hayes, and then I got to be in a seminar where Terrence Hayes was my instructor, and I got obsessed with the form, and I wrote a lot of bad golden shovels. And then I had to write a poem about my mom and how I'm losing her to dementia. And one thing I learned from, of all people, Rachel McKibbins, who really helped me become the poet I am today, was if you're trying to process it, use a poem, use a form. So this is called Supernova. And the epithingy is a black hole is a place in space where gravity pulls so much that even light can't get out. This is what happens when a star is dying. My whole life, my mother has been the strongest woman I know, a supernatural mother something, able to bend time with her own will, black and loud enough to warp the walls with her anger, leave a hole where the plaster was weak, wields power with just a look. She is getting older, though. She keeps everything for a reason type older, a book of pictures, a paperweight, a random jar of dirt from someplace, reasons I don't get to know. She's never met a stray she wouldn't bring in, and has never brought in something she's had space for. Hordes with love. And when she began to forget where she was, losing time, we lost our gravity. Now Mama finds rage in every day. She pushes and pulls us in, and we are her stars left powerless. So often we are floating into the rush of so much darkness, into uncharted horizons, into chaos that neither I nor my sisters could even prepare for. My mama is our light collapsing. What will this do to our gravity? Can't tell how the aperture closing will affect the photo we get. Better depth of field means better exposure when the pictures come out. Now I sift so many of her pictures. People I don't get to know, to see if this is what keeps her here. Hope this sparks light. See if this something happens. You never know with these things, the doctors say. You never know. Sometimes it just might happen when no one's looking or counting on it. But my mama is a whole world, Doc. She's not just some shooting star. The picture develops clearly, and the truth in the portrait is no matter how strong we shine, we are all slowly dying. A black hole is a place in space where gravity pulls so much that even light can't get out. This happens sometimes when a star is dying. Told you I was the misery chick. Um, so instead, I think I want to read a really, really sexy poem Does that counts? It counts. I'm gonna. um, I stumble back and forth between a poem that I wrote for someone. If I meet them in person, probably will take out a restraining order on me. And she lives in DC, so it's not that hard. Her name is Michelle Indigliacello. Um, and this poem, because I read a poem very similar to it very recently, and I think it was written by Nikki Giovanni. I did not write it after her. I never heard it, but I read it recently, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds like." So I want to read this poem as often as I can. This is called Hands Hair. I think I like the idea. Your hands, my hair. I've been looking at your hands and touching my hair all night. I've been imagining the places your fingers will find home, be fluent in caress. Will curse my stubborn stay, unraveling this enigma will praise, will sing the praise of kinks and curls, of pooled oil and ill positioned knot will be snagged, give gentle yank, get curdled snarl. When we both know the rules, we can break them. My scalp and skin craves the chorus of quakes your way over their hands could deliver. I've been looking at your hands and touching my hair all night, pretending I'm magnet, you already here. Thank you. I want to say a few things about Also Dark before I read from my other baby, which is the Chambermaid Style Guide. Also Dark was a project, as I said earlier, where Lori Carter, whose name I blinked out on because she's married now, she has a different last name, but I can't remember her last name. Lori Carter said my name in front of people at Etruscan Press, and they came and got me. And when they came and got me, they said, "Do you have an idea for the cover?" And I said, "Nope, but I have an idea of the artist I want for the cover." And so back when I was a baby poet in Miami, Will the Real One was my mentor, and his mentor was Terry Meredith. And Terry Meredith is the artist that did this cover. And Terry Meredith is an artist that works. So if you want to employ that artist that works, her website is Art by Terry. Please check that out. And if I ever can, I'm going to go back and get everybody who sewed into me so that I can sew it back into them and so that we can all eat. Um, Good. I have time to read one more poem. I was going to read a poem about being an alcoholic, and yeah, that's fun. So I think I will read a poem instead. My favorite pep talk when I'm having a depression episode. Um, and it's called Soft Water Rinse. And I'm not going to sing the epithingy because I only have 2 minutes and 57 seconds left. Oh, talk about your slam poem. Um, but it's by Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians, and it's called it's the song is called "Big Day for a Little Boat," and the song says the lyrics say, "Tomorrow's your big day to show off that smile, smile, smile for everyone. Sail through the sea of sad faces with love, love, love for everyone." So at the top of the clearing, there are white caps. You see, the water is never smooth when you're a canoe or a kayak or a schooner with a barnacle problem. Full up on dark hallways that want to, hey, baby, you want to hold your hand, want to make you. That's when you remember. You keep the bullets in the mess hall in the jar above the sink. They will sing out tingles if you list a turn too hard, which will bring you present to right now. And right now, no one comes aboard without permission. They will tell you a little boat in an angry sea can only do so much. But your lungs full of ocean, that's the way you were born. So your mouth full of water, that's the way you speak life. This is your boat. We are your water. So every time you get sucked in, you just got to relearn how to swim. Depression feels like no land, but days. Depression feels like no kiss to want for, But isolation, that'll tell you how to treasure your mapped up skin suit and how to treat your crazy like it's God. The tall water will always look like it could break a little boat in half, but a hippie girl with a fistful of wild turkey and a load of 44 can do some damage. I promise you, and I promise you I know my way through a wave. Come take my hand. Now kick hard. Find the side and climb back on board. See, that's the helm and that's the shore. You only think your anchor is home. It's the waves that cause progress. So at rest, you're in motion, and in motion, you're at rest. You're at peace with your moving, with your nomad, with your go, with your composite. To who cares? I don't know. With your people or your water, so them waves, that's just life. That's just the way you rock and roll. It's just a wave. Just ride the tide, just have a little boat's ambition, baby. Everything's gonna be all right. So when the ripples start to come in, you be standing there just cheesing like, baby, what? Huh? Like I'm just doing a little drifting like you were made for just this. So you look at the buff and blow shakers. It's when the water looks big enough, tall enough, wall enough, big enough, big enough, big enough to break a little boat in half. You tell it water is what taught you how to swim. Thank you. You're muted. I'm gonna hydrate.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
You gotta unmute. You have to. I have to hear what you're saying.
And see, I don't even listen to myself, so I don't even remember what I said. Y'all are amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for being in the room. And one day we will find ourselves in the same room and we will hug.
Yes.
Well, we'll ask to hug, and then when we give him permission to hug, we'll do that. Because consent is real. Hello. But I want to thank you all so much for being here. We don't have a whole lot of questions in the chat. But I think this question can go for both of you. It says, how scared were you to release something so vulnerable? How does it feel to be able to be so honest? And I think that question can go for both of you. Oh, wow. How'd you, I didn't do that. My fancy tech person did that. That's awesome. So Susie Bennett asked that question. Who would like to answer first, or any part of it?
Angelique.
There you go. You got voluntold. Yeah.
See, our volunteer children. Yeah, I was petrified. In fact, I tried to snatch the project back off the shelf. I was absolutely petrified. And there's a wonderful person named Pamela who works at Etruscan who said this poem will change lives. And she's talking about the Michelle and Degley cello poem because it talks about my queerness and about how I mute my queerness sometimes. And she's like, yeah, do you think you're the only person that feels this way? In fact, there's a lot of people who don't have a voice to say that. And when I went back to my coach, Roscoe Burnhams, down in Richmond, Virginia, and said that to him, he's like, all these damn poems do that shit. Oops. I made with the curse words. Oops. But yeah, and Roscoe's not wrong. I'm real close to the poems. So sometimes I'm just really critical of them. I thought they all needed to be workshopped again. He's like, they already been workshopped. They went to the watering hole. They went up to Colgate. You're done workshopping them. They're ready. I don't know, Jennifer, if you feel that way too.
Every second, every minute of the day, like even just going through those little poems, I'm like, you know what, I really don't like, and then I have to, again, I implement so much logic because I know anxiety just makes no sense to me. I'm just like, why am I even thinking this way? So how scared I am, I'm still scared. Like I still get nervous. I sweat profusely. Like I'm just so scared. And then like after I'm done doing something, I sometimes go and I like cry because I feel like so foolish. And then I'm like, you know what, Jen, like it's better to have done it and like people tell you they don't like it versus you telling yourself you don't like it. So I just kind of put it out there. I was just like, let me just fuck it, jump in and just do it. And like, people can tell me if it's whack. People can tell me, you know what? And so far, I have yet, thank God, like what I hear is like, so far, it's like a really good, it's a really great work of art. And like, a lot of people really appreciate it. They really enjoy like all the little things. Like, my book doesn't have any pages. And I think that's another visual aid in someone that goes through anxiety and how to deal with that. So, and how it affects. So little things like that, I always get like little questions or like little comments. So it is still scary. I don't think it's ever going to not be scary. And then it's even more scary because like people that are really involved in my life, they might kind of be like, I kind of remember that happening with this person, and then that's a whole nother thing. Right. So when you write about yourself and your experiences, and you're really honest and raw about it, that's the other thing. Like, how is the person that was involved in the situation gonna feel about it? And
that's the Lily Lamont thing, right? It's like, if they wanted a better story, they should have behaved better. So
yeah. And the way I look at it,
I have similar things, but I also have this is my theory for myself, is that the day I stop being nervous about performing my truths in front of people, the day I stop having that feeling of, oh my God, this could all fall apart, and then having that conclusion of I completed a thing, that's when I've disconnected from my work and I shouldn't be sharing it. So that's my personal theory, and that's my personal barometer. So I was really, really nervous when I got back into, like, I did my first in-person performance last month. And I mean, it was like, we want you to perform for an hour. And I was like, an hour? Is time real? Wait. So I did that. And, afterwards, just that having people connect with your work. And I think that that's part of what's drawing me to be a poet. Is like, I have a lot of hard stuff in me. I have a lot of hard stories that came out of me. I do a lot of personal narrative work. And I also do a lot of social, how the world is on fire work, right? And so it's always awesome and interesting when I tell my story from my perspective, and then someone who doesn't look like me, who doesn't talk like me, who doesn't live in the same state as I do, connects with that work, and is able to connect with it in a way to where you're like, okay, and you can like turn around to your imposter syndrome and say, you need to back up and sit your ass down. Okay, we're not doing this today. And I feel like we all have to have conversations like that with our imposter syndrome, because I think I think the people who care the most have one of the loudest imposter syndrome voices sometimes ringing in their head, But yeah, I think how the hell you figure those metaphors? See, that's a big question. And they metaphors just kind of drop sometimes, right? I have a few poems where I started with, I'm like, here's the metaphor. Now we got to build the poem around it. This is the metaphor that I want to drag. But how do you work? What is your process with that? Do you come up with your metaphor and then do you write, or do you just be like, today pissed me off, let me write about it? What is your process as you walk into writing? And Jennifer, you're going to start us off on that.
I'm very excited. This is like prime for me, because I always get the question, what poetry, what poems, who's the author that inspires you? And to be honest, I love reading poetry, I love hearing it, but where I truly draw my inspiration for my writing is from fiction writers. My favorite author of all time, like, I swear to God, he is like, if he would walk into the room, I swear to God, I would pass out and like die right there. Haruki Murakami, I love him. Just in case he's watching, your girl wants to get to know you a little. Not like that, but in a friendly, platonic way. But like, he is amazing. Like, his work is phenomenal. And what I really love about him, and what my work really echoes, is that you can read my work different ways, and every single person takes it in a different interpretation. Even myself, when I'm reading something, I'm like, I didn't realize I actually did this like metaphor that way. And I use a lot of like, for example, different spelling for the same words. I'll also use a lot of repetition, but repetition in a little bit different way. And like I said, every time you read it, it's always going to be something different, that you capture something different, just like how Haruki Murakami is. And I also like Jeff Vandermeer, and I'm obsessed with Roberto Bolaño, God rest his soul. And I like a little bit of Leonard Cohen. I know, like, he is a poet, but he's also a famous singer and composer and stuff. So everybody knows him more on the musical side, but he did write a lot of poetry, and a little touch, just a sprinkle in there too. So yeah.
Awesome. Angelique?
My process is all over the place. The thing that is consistent about my process is that come April 1st, I will sit my ass in a chair every morning and write. And I will write a draft every day for 30 days. And I will try and keep it going for as long as I can. It might be 35 days. It might be 28 days with a couple of haikus. But every morning I'm going to write a draft. And that process, whether I've finished with 30 drafts or not, has never failed me. It's become a place where I start a poem. It's become a place where I found something in a draft that was never going to be a poem, but that line right there. And so I like that. I said this in a room full of professors, and the person who was interviewing me turned his nose up at me. I'm like, but it worked. I've got a book. So do you. We both got books. So when I learned that poems are not done in a vacuum, was coming from Miami to Virginia. I learned that people said, okay, let's all sit around and talk about these poems. That happened in Virginia, a little less so than in Miami. In Miami, they edit, and they edit on their own, and their editing process is completely different than anything that worked for me. What worked for me is when I came up and started going to things like WOWs and going to the side events where they were talking about editing their own work. And going to WOWs being the Women of the World Poetry Slam, which is about to happen, by the way, in Baltimore next week. And so if you're in or near Baltimore, please stop by. We're going to need judges to have a real slam. And also, it's just going to be a beautiful experience. And all of the side events are free. So there are a lot of workshops that I've just popped into for a second and learned things I do today. For instance, at a National Poetry Slam, I learned that I love Patricia Smith. So I sought out Patricia Smith's work. I learned that from John Sands. And I was like, oh, I like this. Who is this person? And I mimicked her, to the best of my knowledge, her process, because I came from the world of recovering alcoholics. And they say, if you want what we have, you do what you do. We do. So I did what they did. And I got some good pieces. Slam helped me see how those pieces were arcing and becoming. But when you go back and read your shit to yourself, ooh, that's the biggest kick in the front bottom to imposter syndrome. When you read that, like, who wrote that? Who did this? And imposter syndrome sitting across the room, like, you ain't ever gonna be shit. Like, wait, this is shit. This is pretty good shit. And so I like that about the process too. I think I was answering a question about process because I don't know how I got to those metaphors, but I love those metaphors to life.
Yeah, no, this was crazy. This was amazing. So I suggest all of you go or both of you go and look at all the flowers you're being given in the chat. You're wonderful. You're amazing. You're both insanely talented. Watering Hole Tribe, I see you. You know, there's a bunch of chats. There's a bunch in the chat.
Oops, I'm not muted.
No, you're fine. But I want to thank you all so much. And I also want to remind our audience, whoever's listening, yes, April is National Poetry Month, and a lot of poets or budding writers or people who just want to be creative take that opportunity to write a poem every day in April. And I did not do it. I tried to do it last year, but I think I may have got to like 14. And then, you know, some other insane thing happened in the world. And I was like, I'm sick of writing the poem. Stop killing Black people. How many times do I have to say that? Now I feel like I should just walk up and be like, can you just stop? And that's the poem. But I think this year I'm really going to try to come at it from a different angle, and I am going to try that process. So hopefully everybody out there who's interested in writing will do the poem a day for 30 days. And thank you so much, Angelique, and thank you so much, Jennifer, for being here. Please check out their books, also Dark and Things. And we'll put their information in the chat so that you can go and pick yourself up a copy. I want to remind everybody that the ArtsXchange Literary Program offers a lot of virtual experiences. I do a writing workshop every second Saturday at 2:00, and every fourth Wednesday at 7:30. So please join us for the workshops. We also do Exchange Open Mic, which happens every second Friday of the month. It is on Zoom until June, I believe. And then June, we're going live, but I'm going to add a different day. So we'll have a live open mic, and then we'll have a virtual open mic, because I do not believe in building a community for 2 years and then saying, hey, deuces. No, we're not doing that. We're going to keep the communities going as long as I have the energy to do so. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you for being here. You have just experienced the Power of Word author panel offered by the ArtsXchange, who is funded by the Community Foundation for Greater Atlanta through the Metropolitan Atlanta Arts Fund, and from the Fulton County Arts and Culture under the direction of the Fulton County Board and Commissioners. So thank you so much for being here. I should totally learn this speech. My brain's not accepting new information right now. I'm just saying. But thank you so much, ladies. You enjoy the rest.
Thank you, Theresa, for asking. Thank you for being here.
I love you.
I'm like floored. I don't even know how I got here. I'm here, so I'm just.
You're amazing. That's why you're here.
I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful for every little, like, I hope I don't sound facetious. Like, I'm so serious. Like, you took time out of your day to sit and listen to me speak about things that happened to me and my experiences. I'm just like so grateful, man. Like, I really truly am. And just to like have the opportunity and have like the ability to do what I do, I'm just floored, man.
Wow. So we appreciate you, and I appreciate bringing voices together so that we all know each other. Thank you all so much. I love you. I love you. Be safe. Take care. And we will be back with the Power Word author panel next month. So make sure that you join us and check us out. Next month, the author panel will be my baby brother, who is taller than me, Hassan Davis, who has a new book out called Human Rights. And so he will be on the author panel next month. And I may get another couple. We'll find out. But I love you all so much. Thank you so much. The ArtsXchange thanks you. Have a great day, Jennifer. Have a great day, Angelique. Have a great day, Facebook and YouTube. And we will see you next time. Good night. Good afternoon. Oh, bye.